What is going on, guys? Mr. Josh Paints back again. Today we're going to be painting one of the Termagants from the Warhammer 40k Termagants and Ripper Swarm paint set. So, I picked up this box the other day, and I mainly picked it up because I wanted the Nagaroth Knight paint, and it wasn't available in the shop, so I thought I'd get the box, get some Tyranids, and paint them up. So let's get into it. Now, this is the first time I'm using this paint. I noticed it was a little bit lumpy. It is called the Wraithbone. So we're going to mix it up really well, make sure it's really smooth, give it a really good shake. This is probably just because it's the first time being used, but let's get that out of the way and then we'll move on to the painting. So I base coated the miniature in Xandri dust from the spray can. And now I'm just moving in with the Wraithbone to cover the whole Tyranid's skin color. We're going to do a wash on that later on to bring it to a bit of a purple, but this will give us a nice flat base coat and also allow us to bring out a lot of the detail in the skin areas. So we're going to cover all the skin. Don't worry if it's not completely neat, we can always cover that up later on the carapace and chitin area. And also the claws and those little kind of, I don't know what they are, like gills and dots that are on the tail area and along his legs and arms. But don't worry about that, just cover the whole area of skin, and then when we move on to the next steps we can fix that up. My initial goal with this project was to just paint using paints that came in the paint set. However, I do use quite a few that aren't in there. So the first one we're going to be using is the Emperor's Children layer color by Citadel paints. We're going to use that to paint the fleshy parts on the gun and all those little, I guess, gills and organic parts on the Tyranid's body, including the joints, I guess elbows and knees, the back parts of them, and anywhere else that kind of looks like it's a bit more fleshy than the skin. I'm just going to give it the Emperor's Children treatment. Next up, we're going to give the whole model's skin area a wash in purple, which is going to settle into the recesses and give it a bit more detail and allow the rest of the skin to pop more when we dry brush it. So we're using contrast color Margos purple along with technical contrast medium to make it a little bit less vibrant, a little more opaque. And we're going to cover all the skin, kind of moving from one side to the next, not really going back if we can to the same area so we don't kind of settle the paint, and just all of the skin, including those little parts that we did pink. And I do apologize, we kind of went off camera here. Next step, we bring out the Wraithbone again, which was the base color for the skin. We're going to dry brush that onto the whole entire mini. It's going to bring the top parts of the skin more white, but leave the Margros purple in the background there. So just we load up the paintbrush, we use the paper towel a little bit to get all the excess paint off, and then we just go across the whole miniature, as much or as little as you prefer. And now I'm just going to go back through with the Wraithbone and just pick out a few more bits that I really want to accentuate around those little, I don't even know what they're called, but it's like around those little fleshy bits and just at the highest points of the miniature to just bring that creamy color of the skin, the Wraithbone, but still making sure we leave a lot of that purple in the recesses of the skin there. Again, you can use as much highlighting here. I don't know if it's highlighting really, we're just kind of bringing that cream back into the skin, but you can use as much or as little as you want personally. And again, it doesn't have to be the same from unit to unit. It's an organic matter, so it does look good if you vary the units, I believe. Next up, we have the base color Nagaroth Knight, which is the whole reason I brought this set, because I could not get this paint on its own. So I picked up the set with a few Tyranids as well. But we're just going to do the carapace with that and the chitin pieces, I think they're called. I've mixed it down a little bit with water to make it flow a bit easier, so you can see it's not covering quite as well. But we're just going to do the first layer down, and then the next layer, I don't think I do any water in the next layer, so that it just has a complete covering of all the area, but you can really see the miniature starting to take place now as well, which is really cool. So this is how the Termagant looks now, with the purple on the back and the skin with the purple wash and the Wraithbone dry brush over it too. So it looks pretty good. And you could almost leave it here and just, well, not now, but if you did a bit more purple on there, you could almost leave it there and take it straight to the battlefield. But we're just going to fix up that purple now, and then I'll move on to some highlights on the carapace and the chitan in a moment. Also, this is kind of a bit of a stressful time because you've already done the dry brush and the highlights and the wash on the skin, so you want to just take your time and be as careful as you can, and just paint just the purple parts. I usually kind of stop just before and just kind of really take my time with that last little bit. Now you can kind of see that it's really taking shape with the purple coat more solid down. It looks a lot better. Moving on now to the claws and talons, we're painting them up in the Citadel color Thunderhawk blue, which is kind of like a bit of a bluish grey mix, which looks really, really good. So we're doing all the hooves and the claws, and then we do the top of the gun as well. I forgot what the gun's called. I actually have it here. It is called Flesh Borer. That's pretty cool. So we're going to do the top of the Flesh Borer as well with the same Thunderhawk color. Now this next step, I don't know if it kind of worked as well as I was hoping. I think I made the Nagaroth Knight a little bit too dark, but I tried to mix in some Wraithbone and make it, you can kind of just see, I'm painting the lower part of the back carapace and trying to give it a bit more texture and movement towards the tail. But I don't know if the shade of color was quite light enough. I probably should have mixed a bit more of the Wraithbone in and made it a bit more drastic, and then maybe done one more highlight afterwards to really bring that bit of distance and texture and movement towards the tail of the miniature. So making up for the last step not being as bright as I wanted, I used that Wraithbone again with a dry brush, and I went against the pieces of the carapace in the back just to try and hit that very edge and make them a bit more detail show through, especially on the top parts and those little spiky bits, and just on the very edge, just to kind of bring out each plate as being a separate plate and not one piece of the whole back. So I think that did a pretty good job. I may have gone a little bit too hard on the legs, but overall it gave it a lot more texture to the back of the miniature. Okay, so moving on now, we have a brown from Vallego colors. I'm just doing the brown on the base, and then after that I'm going to dry brush the base as well. So just two colors at least on the base to give it a bit of texture and make it pop a little bit more. And now we've got the red for the, I decided to do Space Marine for the armor, what do you call it, the shoulder pad on the base of the miniature. I think I'm completely off camera though, so you won't really see that, just a little bit there. I also managed to get a bit of the brown onto the shoulder pad, and I kind of just left that there because the paint was still a bit wet when I did the red. So I just kind of let them kind of soak into each other, and it made it look like dust or dirt from the battlefield, which was kind of cool. When I did that by accident, I thought that I might just keep that there. Okay, this is my absolute favorite part of the miniature, adding the shade colors, Agarak Earthshade in this type, in this instance. Sometimes I go black, but I thought that might come up a little bit too dark and darken everything too down. I just wanted to kind of use it to unify the two bits of the miniature, blend down, I guess, the Wraithbone that was kind of a bit too bright for me. Initially, I was just going to do the skin, and also so I could get a bit more of those features come back, like the little dots and muscle parts, and so on. I also don't think I showed, but I put some water into this too, just to make it really faint, but still sit in the recesses and make it pop a little bit more. But after I finished recording, I went back and I did all the purple as well with the same Agrath shade, just to make it look that extra bit better. And for some reason, I don't know where the camera is, so we're not going to show the miniature right now. Next up, I bring back, actually no I don't, I mix in some Wraithbone and some brown together, because I didn't want it to be too light, but I also didn't want it to be too dark. Bit of cat fur on there, awesome. So I'm just giving a little tiny dry brush to the sand, just to get the parts that stick out the most, a bit of texture, and kind of make it tie in the model better, because it wasn't looking very well just the one colour. And also you can get a little bit onto the feet and the shoulder pad, so it looks like dust all over the bottom of the miniature as well, which I quite like. Alright, next up we have, what is that, bone? Sand, I think it is. We're just going to do the eyes and the teeth. And then I think that's the last step really. I think after that you can kind of touch up anything else you want to, but I think he looks kind of cool. So the next step, I am just going to put some varnish on it, I think, and then do a bit of a photo shoot. Alright, and last step, how could I forget the Abaddon black all over the rim and the base, which ties it in quite nice and makes it look finished. So if you did come this far in the video, I want to say thank you so much. I haven't been making videos for very long, but I do enjoy making videos, and I'm hoping to continue to make videos just like this one. So if you'd like to see a certain Hive fleet or a Space Marine chapter, let me know down below in the comment section. Or if you just want to say, hey, that's cool too. But thank you so much for watching all this far into the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Also, stay tuned for a few photos of the miniature outside so you can really see the detail. It is kind of harsh in these lights sometimes. But yeah, anyway guys, thank you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace out.